Hello everyone, and welcome to my first proper YouTube video. I find it a touch ironic that the topic of this first YouTube video is also why I had to make a YouTube account to begin with. I've always intended to make YouTube videos, even though I have absolutely no experience in making videos. I guess nothing kickstarts a process quicker than a small crisis. That might sound a little dramatic, so I'll take a step back and explain. I am an online author that goes by the username Flight in Snow, or my pen name, Rachel Bromley. I began writing more than 10 years ago now. Most of it was garbage, and there are some fan fictions that shall never see the light of day ever again. I find writing is a good source of stress relief, and I love hearing people's thoughts on my work, whether it be the good, the bad, and occasionally the nasty. To really show my age, I started out on adult fan fiction way back in the day. I moved over to AO3, to Patreon, to Wattpad, and finally to Inkitt. I won't lie, I really wanted to become a recognised author. It was my dream to build a community, publish my works, share ideas and stories. I am still a very small creator. For the most part, this has never bothered me. Being a small creator does have its drawbacks though. For starters, if you have no audience, there is no one to hear you scream. And sadly, I have a lot to scream about. Inkitt started out as a fantastic platform. Granted, I've only ever used it as an author, not a reader, but it is incredibly easy to use and has a simple uploading system. The layout is easy to navigate and it never felt like a headache to edit or move chapters around. It is also the place where 14 of my completed books were stripped from, copied, and uploaded by someone onto Patreon and YouTube. When you create something new and release it into the world, there is always a risk that someone else might try and take it and present it as their own for profit. Sadly, I would think this is on the back of the minds of many content creators. I've dealt with theft before, but nothing like the scale of these accounts. Owned by the same person, the accounts presented written books for the public to read. They didn't have a huge number of paying subscribers on Patreon, likely because of the absolutely insane amount of money they were trying to charge people to read chapters each week. For comparison, I was charging $1 a month for early access. Clearly, I am the idiot here because this person was making mint off my work. After just one day of investigating, I tracked down about 9 other authors this person had stolen from, and every single one of them was from Inkitt. The books were run through a god-awful AI voice generator and uploaded to YouTube as audiobooks. Even the book covers were AI generated. This would have been hilarious if I wasn't so completely incandescent with rage and misery at the time. For anyone who's ever read my books, you would know that almost all of them are LGBTQ+. Heterosexual couples are mentioned, but generally not featured, which is why the AI-generated book covers of a hard-chiseled man and ample-bosomed woman flouncing through a field of sunflowers as the cover page to a book that is actually about capturing and training dragons as part of an ancient war was very weird and unpleasant. This only further outraged me, as it meant that not only had this person stolen my books, they apparently couldn't even be bothered to read any of them. None of the covers matched the contents of the books, a very small detail in the grand scheme of things, but something that still did piss me off. Coming back to this YouTube channel. I actually had to make it in order to issue copyright claims against the person who uploaded all of my books. I can say confidently that the 3 days I battled to get my work off this person's account were some of the most stressful and unpleasant of my life. I didn't sleep and I couldn't focus. I didn't even feel like writing. What was worse, it almost felt like I never wanted to write again. What would be the point if someone else can just take everything and sell it themselves with no consequences? Sadly, the more I investigated this topic, the more I began to realize just how much of an epidemic content theft is for content creators. Not just for writers, but for all mediums. The reality is that if you are a content creator putting your work out there into the world on the internet, there is always going to be a chance that someone else will take it and do what they like with it. It can feel like a losing battle. Whether you have a big platform or a small one, it seems no one is safe. It didn't really take me long to find a good example of this. Most people are familiar with Jack's films. He's been on YouTube since 2006 and has nearly 5 million subscribers. He made his own video called The War on Stolen Content. I'll link the video below and I strongly encourage you to watch it because it is excellent. But I did just want to play this small clip from the start of the video.
For whatever reason, they love it on TikTok. I mean, they eat it up. Re-uploads of the video have gotten millions and millions of views. I tallied the view counts of every copy I could find across TikTok, Reels, and YouTube, and the grand total comes to 62.8 million views. To put it another way, if I got that many views on my YouTube channel, that would equate to roughly 105,000. It's fine. I'm fine.
Between how much they were charging people on Patreon and how many of my books had been uploaded to YouTube in several parts, I felt slightly sick thinking about the revenue that was being brought in. Obviously, it doesn't compare to anything like a YouTuber like Jack's Films would have brought in, but the thought was still there. I especially love this part of the video where he is interviewing a fellow content creator who received the following message.
Have an email pulled up that I think sheds a light on some of these people that freeboot content. YouTube has a feature in their creator studio that you can go and see copyright matches, people who have re-uploaded your videos, and it may make it very simple to file a takedown request, whether it be immediate or 7 days. And I got an email immediately after taking down a couple from someone who had re-uploaded the content. It says, and I quote, "You already got your views, F-slur. Stop being greedy. We all gotta eat."
Shut the up.
There is a strange sense of enraging entitlement that comes from people like this. Once I started getting my books taken off YouTube, the channel actually reached out to me. They said they would be willing to pay me for my books. How much, you might ask? Maybe $100? Maybe $50? Well, no. $5. $5 per book for years and years of my life and soul. What was more amusing was that they were genuinely surprised when I turned down their offer. There are also plenty of people out there who will copy your style or work almost in its entirety. I don't mean videos where people will sit there and react to the work without actually crediting the original source. That has been very well documented by many channels that are much bigger and prettier than this one. No, I mean copy almost verbatim. I'll show you one quick example here. This is Pokédex Fillers. At the time of this recording, he has about 164 videos and has been on YouTube since January of 2022. Honestly, the only reason I picked him is because I really love his content and it keeps popping up on my feed.
Creating a custom Pokemon for you! Alright, Tiny Rocket Ship, let's start by getting the power level of your Pokemon, and you are going to be regular. Now let's see how many times your Pokemon can evolve, and you got 2, which makes you a 3-stage evolution.
I then spent a few minutes searching YouTube and found this other person. They have 43 videos at the time of this recording and have had their channel since May of 2024. Now, tell me if you see any similarities between them.
Creating custom Pokemon for you. I choose you, Artbox. Let's go and check out your Pokemon's power, and it's a regular Pokemon. How many evolutions will it have? It has just the one. What type will your Pokemon be? It's a dark type Pokemon.
I'm not trying to send hate to this person, which is why I'm not including their username in this video. I don't have any background or context for these two people. Maybe they reached out to Pokédex Fillers and asked to replicate the style, or maybe they've even worked together in the past. I have no idea, but it does show that whether it be a book, a video, or even a particular style of presentation, anything can be replicated. What I'm talking about is not new. Online theft and replication is not new. I have noticed that whilst this topic has been covered extensively in video media form, it's not always talked about from the perspective of a writer, even though the problem is just as systemic. In fact, during my experience in tracking down these other authors, I found out that one of them had even discovered that all of her books had already been published on Amazon by someone else, which is just awful. So what is the solution here? Well, again, I'm only a very small creator with limited experience, but what I will say is please do your research and do it thoroughly. I found that much of the advice I was finding online was fantastic for American authors, but didn't apply or didn't always work the same way for Australian platforms. If you're someone like me who posts your work on platforms such as Wattpad and Inkitt, the sad truth is there's always a risk involved. One way to combat this is to not leave completed stories up on these platforms. You can have your works in progress uploaded, but keep finished projects aside, either on a private platform or offline altogether. Inkitt has a publishing option where the story will only be published in the app rather than on the website. How much this helps, I honestly can't say, but I have heard it is supposed to improve its chances of not being stolen. If you have any experience in this, I would absolutely love to hear from you. If your work is taken and re-uploaded without your permission, the platform will always encourage you to reach out to the person directly and try to sort it out privately first. If this fails, you can submit copyright tickets. No matter how much you hurt, how angry and sad and frustrated you are, try and keep all communication as amicable as possible.
Mr. Simpson, your son alleges that you have an anger management problem.
You little... I'm sorry, Judge. That's a rare lapse in my normally calm demeanor.
Save your email chains and screenshot what you can in case you are blocked or important details are later deleted. In my case, as soon as I started reporting the stolen books, the person blocked me on Patreon. Hilariously, they then emailed me, ensuring that everything had been removed from Patreon and I could check if I wanted to. Except I couldn't, because I was still blocked. Another piece of advice I would offer is to stay in touch with your communities. I found the theft of my books completely by accident. None of the people I contacted were even aware of the theft either. Sometimes people will post on a website's forums, and it's always a good idea to look them over and see what's happening in that little corner of the world. It can be hard to believe, but most people are wonderful and want to help if they can. That being said, what are your thoughts? Do you have any suggestions that could help out other writers or small content creators? Please write them below, I would love to read them. If you would like to support me or any of the other authors mentioned in this video, I am putting all their profiles below in the description. They are all wonderful people and they've been incredibly supportive, and they also have a fantastic array of books to read. So please, if you're into that sort of thing, check them out. Thanks for sticking around. Until next time.